For my sugar sheet, I have my recipe there, and I can see I have sugar, I have fondant, I have color, and I have glucose. So for my sugar, 1 cup of sugar, and I have my fondant set aside. I also have my color. Now I'm using a powdered color. Powdered color, I am adding very little. Now with my hand, I'm going to rub it in until everything is well incorporated. The color I'm using is green color. I added another one because the first one was not enough to give me the real green I'm looking for. Next, I am adding my glucose, which is 2 tablespoons of glucose. Now at this point, I should be able to mix it very well until everything is well combined. Now, at this point of this mixture, the combination of the sugar and the glucose, the ones that so many people are making is, at this point, you pour them on top of your parchment paper, cover it maybe with another parchment paper and roll on top. Now maybe set it aside overnight or about 6 hours and use later. And in some cases, people go ahead to add CMC to it to make it stronger. But that is not how I make my sugar sheet. Now for my sugar sheet, I use my fondant. And at the end of the day, I am going to be adding a little CMC to my fondant to make it to be firm. I will now knead it to combine very well. At this particular point, my aim is to make sure that I have a stronger fondant. And after making it strong, I will then add my green color and knead in again. Remember, I have just made my sugar mixture and it is green. I'm now turning my fondant also to green. Now after making it green, I will just get a board. Now I can see my board, apply shortening very well on top and then press down to roll out. You don't make it too thin and you don't make it too heavy. Now after rolling out, begin to arrange the sugar that you have just mixed on top of it. So what are you going to be doing now? You start by making sure you apply your sugar from the edges to the inside of the rolled out green fondant. Now the question is, why do I prefer to start from the edges of the rolled out fondant? Normally, when you make a sugar sheet, the beauty of the sugar sheet lies on how rough the mouth of that cutouts are. Now, if you don't start by applying this, it will not be very rough because you know it is the rough part of it that we normally paint. So you have to apply it on your fondant, but on the outer part, so that when you roll, all those rough parts you have been looking for your painting will still be there. Now, after arranging all these things on top of the green fondant, I will just roll. Now, I am not rolling to elongate it. I am not rolling to make it bigger. I'm only rolling to make sure that the whole green sugar is well arranged on top and lapped without shaking. That is to say that all the sugar entered somehow into the fondant but without showing, because I'm not going to mount any pressure on top. So I'm taking my time now to arrange all the green sugar, the sugar mixture. Remember, what I have there is my 1 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of glucose, and then a small amount of green. The color depends on you. And don't forget, this particular thing can be used for so many designs. You can use it on top of a cake for a football cake. You can use it for grasses on the body of your cake. And you can as well use it on the body of your cake as design as sugar sheet. Okay? So now, after arranging all these things like I said, I am just going to roll my rolling pin on top to lap it very well on the body of the fondant for it to be very stable. Now, under normal circumstances, you set it aside to dry. But for this particular method I am showing you now, you can use immediately. Remember, the other method of sugar sheets that you are seeing all over internet, you add your CMC inside the sugar, color it, and add your glucose to mix. Then after that you roll out. Now after rolling out, some people normally pass it through heat and some normally set it aside to firm up overnight. But for this particular recipe I am showing you now, you can go ahead and use it immediately. And that is to say, as the day goes by, it gets stronger on the body of the cake. You have nothing to be afraid of. Mostly because I strengthened my fondant more by adding the CMC into it, instead of adding the CMC in the sugar. You will see me use it immediately I am through with what I'm doing now. I don't need to set it aside to firm up. Although you can still set it aside, it will still serve. But I'm telling you that even as it is more reliable that you can handle it immediately to decorate your cake without having a double thought about it. Now, after this, the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to divide. You can see the mouth, they are now rough. I can decide not to touch the mouth and just paint gold after cutting. So I'm trying to make sure that I fill up every part that the sugar did not touch. Now look at what is happening there. Remember that the sugar is darker than the fondant. Somehow, the fondant that is the part that is a bit lighter in green is actually the fondant. But because the sugar is slightly sprayed there, you will not notice it. You will think it's a design. So the next thing you do now, you start dividing. For those edge parts that are very rough, you leave it like that. But for the straight part, you pinch out to create the roughness. Like this one now is very, very straight. I am creating the rough part because that rough part is actually where I will paint my gold. And that's what makes it more unique and more beautiful. Now, I'm going to cut this one and I am not going to tamper with the edges as the edges are perfect because that roughness is actually what I wanted for my designs. But the ones that are straight, I will pinch out to create the edges. Don't forget, I've said it up to 2-3 times now for you to understand how it is done. The straight parts where you know you want to paint must always be rough. That's how you achieve a better design of sugar sheet. Now I'm dividing again. Now look at the part I'm dividing out. That part, I don't really need to work much on it, as the edge of that part is very rough. The only place I am going to touch are the head parts where I made straight. That is the size I cut because they are straight. As soon as you pick such side, you try creating the rough edge on it. Now the edges needs to be rough for your sugar sheet design to be complete. I have been arranging all the cut out sugar sheets on a board. We are now going to paint them. So next, you take your gold luster, pour it into a smaller can, then add your edible spirit. Mix together and begin to paint the edges of your sugar sheet. Now, you are watching what I am doing. You can see how beautiful everything is turning out to be. Because where I had to paint is only the rough part. The ones I didn't paint, I will show you how you can paint it on the body of the cake. I've actually been placing this on the cake and I didn't know that my camera turned off. So I want to show you how I placed them. What I did is when I collected one, I apply my shortening at the back of it. Your royalizing, your water, anything works because there is fondant at the back of the sugar sheet. So now I am using both the ones that have not been able to paint to show you that you can actually paint them while they are lying on the body of the cake. Now don't mind the rough work I'm doing. I believe with this you can actually understand. I just use this to show you how I attach the other part of the cake that I showed you earlier. Wow, you can see how beautiful it's turning out. So next I'm going to be painting it, those parts I didn't paint, on the body of the cake after lining the last one. I'm using this part to show you how I achieve the other part. You can lie them, you can straighten them, you can even use it for any method you want to use it. It will always be beautiful on your sharp edge. So now I mix my edible spirits to my luster dust again and I am painting now. This time I'm doing it on the body of while it is placed on the body of the cake. You can see it's still coming out very well. So whichever way you decide to do it, they will all be beautiful. Now, thank you so much for watching. The next class now is going to be how we made the sugar seal that was placed on top of the square cake. Bye for now.